Moo and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pinktron. I am Brent Robinson. I am joined today by Steve Pritchard. Steve, what are you drinking?
I am on a Juba, so it's a beer, session lager, cut with elderflower. I'm moving the
Oh,
camera all the way. So yeah, similarly fruity flavored beers. Again, continuing that theme of late.
seems very refreshing. I'm also joined by Chris Greenland. Chris, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking my last Miller Lite after yesterday's July 4th celebrations. I saved one specifically for today. So I'm drinking that and then I'm moving on to Corona when I'm done with that.
Very nice. And we also have with us Sean Fogenberg. Sean, what are you drinking and possibly and or eating?
I'm eating a fried chicken sandwich, and I'm in Juneau, Alaska right now. So I have a Alaskan Juneau Juice Hazy IPA.
Nice.
Nice.
I feel like we've gone off subject by you not eating a mushroom sandwich, though.
Yeah,
We missed out on the sponsorship deal, I think.
might be a
Yeah,
mushroom.
there are.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any mushrooms on this supermarket fried chicken sandwich.
I have a Slurpee. I don't know. Do you guys have Slurpees in the US? This is I had
Oh yeah.
blackout berry punch or something and cream soda Slurpee, which like it's actually nice and warm and sunny here today, so I am drinking a Slurpee, y'all.
Is that a make
And
your own flavor? Before I don't want to interrupt the cheesy segue, but is that like mix two different flavors together, make your own, or
well, yeah,
is that
yeah, like
like
you just well, I mean, it was like the bottom one was like it was called like blackout berry punch Mountain Dew. I don't
yeah,
know. It was really
okay.
purple, and then cream soda. Yeah, yeah. Always
Oh,
two.
okay. So the cream soda is a separate drink. Okay.
Always, always two flavors. Because you know what I don't want to get is everything. And you know what the route is this week for HSRL? Everything bagel.
Horrible.
Yeah, you lined that up well.
Uh, everything bagel,
A lot of work.
HSRL. It is the last week of this route. And yeah. If you click in everything bagel Wikipedia, it shows you an everything bagel, not a Zwift route.
This is like the double figure eight almost. New York route. You do a lot of New York. You do
Yeah,
the
that's
com
right.
early. I think you do the com the other way later on.
Lot
Right
of turning
on.
on this one. Yeah.
This is correct. You
And the
do the
sprint in both directions. Is
yes.
it clear that none of us have raced this?
Nobody did race one yet. We'll talk about why later,
I
but
think I have raced everything bagel a reasonable amount of times and
Yeah.
I've chosen to forget it because it's just not fun.
yeah, so
Like most people.
it's pretty much right out the gates up to the KOM reverse. And then you go back down. You do a bunch of all the other stuff. You go through the sprint reverse, which is the downhill through the sprint side. So it's the climb up and then downhill a bit into it. Then you go all the other stuff over to Harlem Hill, back up into the glass stuff, and then you do the KOM forward, and you come back down. It's pretty much straight into the sprint forward, which is the like a little bit downhill, mostly flat with going into the uphill direction, then some more rolly stuff, and then the nonsense New York uphill finish.
And we did have Nate Holm basically pointing out that this is a hard one if you're not near the top of your category in about 5-ish minute power, because this does start with pretty much 5-minute climb.
I think Nate was also, I think this is a tough one if you're not at the front of the A group because the gaps are so small, they're getting you on that climb, aren't you? You're not getting a nice group to sit on in any other part of New York. But hey, we're trying stuff. So I think Marilyn said that they're still mixing stuff up on the next edition of HSRL. So yeah, all reviews to James Bailey at Zwift, please.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean it's pretty much going to be not too hot probably from the gun. It'll probably stay pretty chill until you hit the KOM reverse. Now, remind me, is the KOM reverse the one that comes after the fakie line, or is it the one that's the real line the first time around?
Ooh, shoot.
You because you got to watch, right? Because there's a one direction you go up and you haven't passed the KOM line, but there's
Yeah.
a red line. You go through it, and I think it might be the reverse one feel like it might be. So you got to watch so you don't get faked out.
Pulling up what's on Zwift right now. This doesn't really help.
All right, Chris will look at that. We'll talk a bit about bike choice, which I think is Tron. I mean, it's too much other long stuff, too many sprints, I think, for a climber.
Best all around there, Canyon Air Road from.
Yep. And then
Okay, the
Probably
reverse
there on the
climb. So the first climb, which is the reverse climb, is the second red start line.
okay, so yeah, so
It's
wait
the
for
one
the
where you turn right,
That's what I'm looking at.
so yeah,
near as I can tell. It's a shorter climb, 1.1K versus 1.4 for the forwards. Yeah, so that's got to be it.
so yeah, so when we go to that first one, don't think you have to start gunning it when you hit the first line. You can wait till the second line, and then you got to go. And yeah, it's the forward one has a longer, flatter section at the top. Just if you've really never done this, if you're on somebody's wheel, like you can sprint through the top and maybe come through them. Yeah,
This
tail
is the
gun
one that,
descent.
yeah, it's 1.1K at 8.4%, but that's with it's a stair-steppy climb, so there are, several. I think the actual average is of the climbing bits is a lot higher than that.
Yeah, the steep
yeah.
bits are steep. Go hard on the steep bits. Yeah, and then the whole rest of New York all the way around is going to be rolly nonsense. You're not going to be able to really settle in.
Yeah, you got to hope that you can find a group to drag you around. I do think that is actually a difficulty this week because of the 3 minute difference in the start pens, especially with starting with that short climb. The groups are going to start splitting and coming together a lot earlier than you normally would expect in a HSRL.
Yeah, that will be tricky. I would say be a bit like don't give up hope too early because the people on the front will not try and go fast. Like there will be people motivated to kind of come together a bit because they'll be happy to try and win it on the second climb or whatever. So especially they'll want some help through the first sprint, so that'll help you through the longest stretch there potentially.
There'll be some people who don't understand the rules who just ride the same pace all the way around as well. So they usually help.
And there will be that too. So that helps too. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like pacing and stuff, I think you got to go at all the segments and just kind of chill on the rest. There's no like, the segments are far enough apart, except for maybe from the second KOM to the second sprint is kind of close together, but I think it's just go all out, everyone, do your best.
I think it's a really good course to learn with, because you've got to be able to draft really well in the lumpy bits. You've got to be able to hammer the primes and line up the sprints, and a bit of tail gunning. So yeah, all of those things we talked about before, like New York's a real test of like how well you Zwift, and like the best guys will recover the best in the draft and learn from that. So yeah, enjoy it.
Agreed. All right, and that is the last week of the series. And yeah, as Steve kind of alluded to, there will be some new HSRL coming, but it might be a little more shaken up than normal HSRL stuff. So it'll be good. It'll be good. And that will bring us to the herd beginner racing, which we are on Deuce France. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Deuce France. And this is the first week of the racing score, right? I'm getting the terminology right.
Yeah. So first week of racing score, this is Zwift's answer to categorization in racing, or new categorization in racing. So trying to get you racing with folks who are more mixed durability, giving a few more groups to race with as well. So we're luckily testing it out and trialing it for them. So yeah, do the race. Let us know how you get on. If you feel like you're racing with similar folks, that's the intent, really. So, however, if you were winning everything and now you're going to a group where people are beating you, I'm not going to be too sympathetic.
It's a perfect time to have a whinge.
And racing score is category enforced, right? Like you're only going to be able to sign up in the one that your racing score says you can sign up for. Okay, that's good.
I have. I don't know if any of you have done any of the racing score races yet.
Nope.
I did one on, what was that, on Wednesday. The categories were, it was one of the more restricted category. It was like the 450 to 550, and it was a strong group. Lots of people pushing, even though it was on RGB. But yeah, because there is it's based on, at this point, the combination of your 10-minute and 30-second, but it's also going to end up being, how well you do among those groups of people that you were racing with. But even just from that 10-second and 30, or 10-minute and 30-second, you end up with a variety of rider types that are all kind of at similar levels. So you have, I think I had the lowest 20-minute power of anyone in the group, like in terms of watts per kilo. But some of those higher ones were smaller people. And then I had one of the higher 30-second power. So it was like, it's that you have the groups of people who are like, I can hold higher power for longer and potentially make this race hard for the sprinters, versus the people who are like, all I got to do is hang on and then I can finish well. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually ends up being kind of how these I think they're calling them the racing bands, work out.
Well, I mean, I think that's the objective, of course, is to have it that all balances out so that you're exactly as tired as it needs to be a close race at the end.
Yep.
Between everybody. And then, yeah, so we're gonna have all those bands, right? 4 different bands, all categorized automatically. So I
I
don't know,
think
you'll
it's
figure
even 5 bands in HBR.
5. There you go, even better. So
I think it's 5, and the top one actually goes up to 550, which is like, that's gonna include some Bs at that
Yeah,
at the
I'm in
top of
that. I'm 543, I think, right now.
so you're gonna get in and just learn to race.
Yep.
That's part of the fun.
That's
And
my plan.
And I think because we're just still like on this, everybody's doing just the one lap, right? That's kind of the plan, is we're not going to change the routes yet for any band. Okay. So one lap to Dute France. Dute France is the flattest course in France, or whatever, one direction on the flattest track in France. Pick your poison. Dute France is the one that starts through the intestines and the balloon fields, then goes over the aqueduct, and then back to the flat bits into the little town for the finish from the arena. It's very flat, so you're best all around aero race bike, hold on mostly, and try and hit the sprint at the end. I think it's all there is to HBR, which will bring us to Climber's Gambit, Chris.
Yeah, new series launching Summer Rendezvous this time. 4 weekends across all of July. Messing around with the scoring options on Zwift Power for this one. So we're only doing the Rooftop Rendezvous course all 4 weekends, and just different lap and timing options. So the first one is very straightforward. We're just doing 1 lap of Rooftop Rendezvous, 1 climb of the rooftop. That's it. Week 2 will be 2 laps combined time. And then weekend 3 is 3 laps, but only your slowest time counts. And weekend 4 is 4 laps, slowest time counts. So the objective is still to be have your fastest time, but it's your slowest among your laps is going to count towards that overall
you
GC.
want to have overall the fastest, slowest time.
Slowest lap.
I thought I was
So,
in with a chance there. I was going to spend a whole week doing the Climbers Gambit to see how slow I could go up to have the slowest time.
So is it
yeah.
is it the full lap or is it the climb?
Well, we're doing laps for the event, but the measured segment is the rooftop climb
It's
segment.
the rooftop KOM. Okay.
Yeah. Because as a reminder, Sean, I know you're traveling, but Climber's Gambit is the hill climb series where only the time on the climb segment counts. So that stays true. We're just messing up the timing and scoring options a little bit. We're gonna try to break Zwift power on this one.
Well, and so the strategy of this has got to be that you got to try and do them all basically evenly, right? I've kind of got that because otherwise,
For
like
those,
if you go too fast, then you're going to be tired for your slow one, and if you
Correct.
go too slow on your slow one, then it's going to be really slow.
The exercise is go as fast as you can equally across X amount of climbs, whether it's 3 or whether it's 4.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought
yeah,
so too.
it's a fun pacing exercise.
Yeah.
Well, because as you said, it's only your time on the segment that counts. You've actually got quite a lot of laps covering, haven't you? So, um, it's a real
Yeah.
it's a real over unders set, isn't it? Really fun.
Yeah. I mean, you coast back downhill for a couple minutes and then you're right back on it.
Cool.
Yeah. But this weekend, very straightforward. Just one lap, one climb, your time counts. That's it. And it gets progressively weirder after that.
Rooftop Rendezvous time trial bike.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. Very shallow,
Uh,
a lot of flat bits.
I don't even think that these need to take anything other than a TT bike. I think it's like 2 or 3% average.
Yeah. 2.7 from what the internet tells me right now. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Cool.
Yeah, and that sounds really fun. I'll give that one a go.
All right. Yeah, that's very interesting. I certainly will once we get around to like the June 20 or July 27th, I will feel more interested in that for reasons we may discuss later. Herd of mountain goats. Does it just keep still populating? Like there's no posts in the group. I have no idea. All right. Don't know what to say about the herd of mountain goats. I'm sorry for mountain goats fans. The Stampede is on hiatus this week. We finished last week. Al Richardson put up the victory post for all the winners, and we will be starting a new series in the next week or two. Al and I have been talking about. I think we're gonna do is the Stampede World Tour. So each week will be sort of a theoretical different part of the actual world. And sometimes we'll use Watopia for like, stand-in. So like we'll do one that's like Titans Grove, that'll be the California week and et cetera, et cetera. So
Oh, fun.
unfortunately, in a time trial we're doing a world tour, that means, for sure there's gonna be a baloney week.
I mean, I did have the idea that you might do the having done your primetime series, you might do the Fibonacci sequence, which would
Oh,
be finishing with I think 144-kilometer time trial at the end of it. But
is that how many you'd have to get to do 10 weeks on the Fib? I haven't worked out
I was
what
just
the
having
first 10
noticed,
enters the Fibonacci
1, 2, 3, 4,
sequence.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, it's a 55K time trial you'd finish with.
That's much more manageable.
Yeah. It's an hour and 20 minutes by yourself on the bike
Yeah.
like that, as hard as you can go. That's like not even a whole iron, man. Because that's what we all want to do inside by ourselves. Anyway, stay tuned. That'll be coming back up in the next week or two. And Bullseye remains on hiatus for the time being.
Oh, apparently those races still are populating and people are getting out and racing in them. I think it was Kai Sonder, or it was either Kai or Scott Anderson that I talked to after one of the races this week, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm going to get out," and it must have been Kai because he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go out and race on Bullseye on Wednesday," and some other people are still like hopping in those races.
Nice.
It is the Zwift Power like post race, they're not doing all of the like
The math.
they're not doing the scoring, but the racing is still fun. So
Well, if there's people who are running the sprint and you go sprint against them and get your sprint workout
Yeah.
in, Bullseye is great for that. I was at my sprinting best when I did like a whole series of bullseyes. Cool. All right. That is your week in herd racing, which will bring you to Around the Horn. which I don't know. We gotta start talking about what all the racing we're doing that's not the herd
Just
racing. I feel like a little
all
bit.
the dumb shit.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually,
yeah,
let's just start with Steve. What's your TSS right now?
No, I haven't written yet. I think it's not. Yeah, I'm a bit worried that I think maybe the good folks at Strava are probably going to send someone out to do a health check on me because I've done far too much riding this week compared to other weeks. So I think I've broken their TSS score metric. I am currently on 878 TSS for the week, so gonna push for the round 1,000 over the weekend. Just see what happens. Maybe my legs will fall off, but yeah, it'll all be fun, won't it?
trying to see if I can get TSS on Garmin Connect.
Yeah. So what is your series that you've been doing, Steve?
I've not really been doing any. I was sadly made redundant, so I've got more time to ride bikes. And I thought, what can I do that's sort of at a reasonable time after lunch or after breakfast and takes up to about an hour and 20 minutes? And Chasing Yellow was on. So I missed the first 2 days because they were at the weekend and I had better things to do. I've done 4 of the events this week and a ladder league race. So yeah, they're good fun. Different types of events. I didn't do a warm up for the first one because why would you do a warm up? And then realised it was a mass start, and it was really hard out the pen. So regretted my life choices. And then today had the time trial, which was yeah, brutal. On tired legs. Titan's Grove is one of those ones you think, I know how I can do. I've done Titan's Grove a lot. I know kind of what effort I have to sustain to do an okay time through there, and yeah, I couldn't. But it's interesting. I was talking with Chris on when did we ride, Chris? Was that Thursday? We were on Discord
I think it was
together.
just yesterday. Yeah, just yesterday.
Yeah. It is interesting people still not playing the game very well. So you'll all know Titans Grove, you come out and you have that rolly section. And there were people who were 30 seconds up the road with me from me through Titans who I caught up very quickly because they sat at their TT pace out of Titans and I bumped through the rollers and you just fly up them. And I was oscillating between 4 or 5 watts a kilo and then one on the downhill bits just to recover, and yeah, flew up behind them. So it's it's really interesting racing. Quite a lot of people there, good fun. Hopped on Discord with Chris the other day. Brent, I had saved you from me panting at you on Discord today for the time trial. I thought you wouldn't necessarily appreciate that one, but yeah, all really good. How about you guys? Some of you guys doing Chasing Yellow? Well, Chris, you're doing Chasing Yellow, Brent as well.
You want to go first, Chris?
Yes. Yep. 7 stages through it. We've got a poorly timed family vacation middle of next week, so I'm gonna have to miss about I think 4 stages in the middle. But it's been good fun. I'm battling some trainer dropouts at the moment, trying to resolve my tech issues, but I guess those are just our Zwift versions of mechanicals, I guess, in a Grand Tour. So it's fine. Yeah, it's fun to see how the body reacts doing these day after day, triple digit stress races, and like wanting to pay more attention to how you fuel your body, how you recover, the number of Miller Lights you intake following a stage, because you got to wake up tomorrow and warm up and fuel and do it all over again. So maybe gaining a little bit of a newfound appreciation for what these elite athletes go through and how they're able to perform over these distances and these efforts day after day after day. When I can barely do a fifth of what they're doing, pretty incredible.
It is actually really interesting to look at the numbers on their easy days, though. Like I think Biniam on stage 3, I think it was, averaged 160 watts for the with a really hard last 10K or whatever it was, but like the watts that you have to do to just roll around with the Peloton, not that terrible. It's just that they're the crunch points are really crunchy.
Yeah. I can do the 160. What I can't do is the 6 to 7 watts per kilo for 40 minutes. I can't do that.
Well, and
Um,
it's the sprints as well. There was you say it's about the Olympic sprinters that can do kind of 1,500 watts, 2,000 watts in the Olympic sprints. That like, yeah, sure, do that after 6 hours on the bike, and then do that after 21 days of 6 hours on the bike. It's
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, although to Chris's point, like, so I've been doing Chasing Yellow too. I've done every stage so far, and with 4 of the 7 or 5 of the 7, I've done at 6 a.m., which you are right, Steve, is a ridiculous time to be doing that kind of thing. But I don't have time. I think that none of the other times work, and that's one of the reasons why I've been missing much of the herd races too, is just scheduling problems. But I am starting to get that. I know they always talk about like kind of that race into shape when you do those long tours, and I am starting to feel that a little. Like you don't feel like you feel tired in the morning, but as you get into the race, you feel a little more fit. And I am moving up the field a little bit, which is good because I was really bad the first day or two. But it's interesting. It's good to see this. Like you really do. Especially if you race the same time slot. I've done 2 time slots, although I knew a bunch of people in the evening time slot. I mean, I've raced against in HSRL and um Zwift Racing and all that stuff. So you kind of knew right away. The morning one's a bit different because I'm not as familiar with the people who usually race at 6 a.m. and mountain time. But now like week to week, you see like who's with you, who's in the group, who's close to the GC. So now you kind of are starting to match up against, all right, that guy, he's gonna go. But these are the people I can race against all the rest of the way
Yeah.
around, which
Yeah.
is a lot of fun.
These are my people. These are
Exactly.
my mid-pack people.
Yep.
yeah, I've definitely found the Zwift Racing app, metal scoring really useful to just. I mean, it doesn't show you the whole field. It obviously just shows the people who signed up to Zwift Racing, but quite a few folks are, and you can kind of gauge from that. Like these are the few names to watch as I go around. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, Chris, we were chatting about this when we both finished the day, that kind of the time of riding isn't that long. When I was working in Oxford, I'd do 2 50-minute rides a day. So I'd spend more time sat on my ass riding my bike, but I suspect my TSS was lower. Like it's the big efforts, isn't it? It's racing hard that's different. So I have been trying to cool down and do those kind of things. So Chris was quite entertained that my cool down method is to basically ride in the grey zone. It's about 1 watt per kilo for me, until any color disappears from my chart at the bottom of the screen, and then round it up to the nearest kilometer. But yeah, it's just interesting what you guys are doing in terms of kind of recovery and those sort of things. Brent is like, it's a very long answer, I think, from Brent. He doesn't want to go into too much
I
detail.
know my recovery is I go upstairs and have my breakfast and go to work. Then I go
What
coach
is
Brent, to be fair, with that being your recovery plan, it is mind-boggling that you are racing into shape.
It's it
what,
could be worse.
explain that? Why? What is the science behind cooling down? Because now I'm doing Steve's method, where I'll just like gray out that ticker on the bottom.
It's not even necessarily the cool down, but the like, as you know, Chris, you mentioned like the importance or interest that you have gained in like realizing that in order to be able to do it tomorrow, you got to take care of yourself the rest of the day today. And so like getting off of the bike after a race and then immediately being like, all right, I'm going to get whatever food I can in. And I don't know, personally for me, the post race appetite is 0. So going and that's not true for Brent apparently.
I'm the 100% opposite.
Big head shakes from Brent.
I'm like, it's like, usually I just have to say, I have eat the same breakfast. I have like a bowl of cereal with almond milk. So like, I think that's actually in the world of recovery is actually pretty reasonable. Maybe could use a little more protein in there, but say la vie. But like if I had more time, I'd probably also eat like a banana and like a handful of cookies and a handful of peanuts, and I'd have like a smoothie and so it kind of cuts me off from going too crazy on the
You are
snacks.
lucky in that. I personally get just so, especially when I've gone really hard, I get so nauseated that I like the only thing I can do is drink calories. So the recovery shakes are really important to me, for often a couple hours before I can actually eat anything.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't. Maybe I need to go harder. But
Nah, I mean,
I'll
you
tell you
know
the
what going
one.
hard is. Have you bled from the face yet?
I haven't in this series, although it's kind of not the time of year for it. But I'm trying to think. Like, I'm just gonna go back and look. There was one race for sure that was like the one that I thought I was gonna die on. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the climbing one. The we had to
Stage
do,
4.
yeah, right. It was
Mayan Mash. Is it Mayan Mash?
yeah, Mayan Mash. That's the
Yeah.
one where you do Mayan KOM, it's a KOM, the second half of the grade, up to the top of Epic, back down, and then the first whatever 2/3 of Epic, and then back down. And
Yeah. Bypass road, then back up Epic. Yeah.
I was a hurting unit, and I actually like I thought I'd raced it reasonably well. I mean, I'm not a climber, but I went with and I raced like I got dropped from the lead group, and this is the other thing I was gonna ask you guys about is your experience with this is like mixed cat. Everyone started at the same time racing. Like I know you're not racing against the A's, but you know they obviously it affects the race and everything. But
Hmm.
anyway, I got dropped from the lead group, kind of 3/4 of the way up pizza, and I mean I'm doing like some tactical dropping. Like there's no point in me trying to go 500 watts in the next 30 seconds of this thing, only to get dropped the first 10 seconds into the grade and be cooked. So I kind of like was all right, I know what my pace is for the rest of this. But then I like did race a pretty hard like epic. Like I thought I did pretty well, but I did have two people who come through me, light racers. One was a lady who's a very strong racer, but she's probably got the advantage over me on the climbs. And then I tried to chase him down the flats at the end, and I was going for it, and I could not catch her and the other person who'd come through me. And they were like two of them in front of me. And, when they're like 8 seconds, I know they're just working together just enough that I cannot pedal up there and catch these two. Anyway, that one was
You know that if you could just muster a sprint, you could get there, but
yeah,
the sprint
yeah.
isn't there.
And that was one that afterwards was like my wife came down and like looked at me, and I'm just with my head on the handlebars, and she's like, "Are you actually okay?"
Yeah. One question I got from Alexa, my wife, this week was why do you even do this? This was after she lit me up for leaving. And this is something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. Um, my feet, my legs and my feet, my lower body, despite having a fan pointed directly at it, is so sweaty with these efforts. It's effectively 75 minutes at or around threshold, and I am like, my shoes are soaking wet. I'm leaving just really clear sweat footprints around the house when I get done with these races. I have to air out my shoes, dry them out. The block that holds up my front wheel, every time I wash it out, I air it out, and every time there's a puddle of sweat in there. Every time after these races, there's got to be, I haven't found it yet. I'm looking for them, like indoor specific shoes, more ventilation. I'm wearing summer road shoes right now. I'm not lacking for ventilation, but I don't know if I just got to go like the Lachlan Morton route and like cut off some sandals and put some SPD bolts on the bottom of them, like wear Crocs. Like I don't know what else to do.
Do you wear
Um,
socks?
I do, yeah. Like really light, airy socks.
Yeah, I wear cycling socks.
Yeah.
You have too much Miller Lite before you ride. Is that the problem? You're just
Well, I'm
sweating.
drinking it while I'm riding, so
Uh,
maybe that's part of it.
I mean, mine, mine,
Uh,
mine get moist too. Let's make no bones about this. I don't know that there's actually in indoor riding how much of a good solution, short of like getting a fan that blasts straight onto your legs.
I think that might be the next thing. I might need to up my fan game. That was Steve's suggestion yesterday when I was bitching to him about this on Discord.
Yeah, I have the
Yeah,
opposite problem in the winter, which is that I can't keep my feet warm enough because the shed's quite cold. that I end up like I've got toe warmers that I have to wear indoors to keep my toes warm enough while like I've got the fan on to keep myself cool. So
Chris, is this a regular issue, or is it just actually just hot in San Diego right now?
I think it's just when the ambient temperature gets, above, we're at about like high 70s right now, 78, I would say. So I'm in the garage. It's not cool, but it's not excessively hot. But I think when you
Yeah.
layer that starting point on top of 75 minutes of go fast,
Yep.
I think that's the tipping point. So I think maybe I'll start with more fans. That's probably the cheaper option and
it's where
less
sweat goes as well. So I am an excessive hand sweater. I think it is. I nearly sent you a photo. Like I had two puddles underneath my drops after today's effort, which is just
Gross.
hand sweat. And
Yeah.
I know that I'm making a horrific science experiment, so we'll have to do a bar tape change sooner.
Yeah. Do you have bar tape on there? I
Yeah.
would advise you to take it off.
I don't understand you guys don't put the towel over the handlebars. Like this is like I've never ridden indoors without a towel over my handlebars. Like
I've got
I don't
I
even know how
do.
you do it.
Yeah.
partly it's the Zwift Play controllers, and partly it's I just find it gets in the way.
Um,
I've always had stuff
I'll
there.
give you
So
the
yeah,
controllers.
before I got the Zwift Play, that's right. I'd have my phone mount as well to
Hmm.
activate power ups and things like that. So
Fair enough. Yeah, it's yeah, I'll say like I have a little bit too, Chris. Like when I first started on Swift and I was like, especially I got like the work from home badge. I was I was actually unemployed, so at the time it was called the unemployed badge, so it kind of worked out
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me. But I actually had like looked it up and I was doing things like I was stuffing my shoes with newspaper afterwards. So I have two pairs of shoes. I have a tri pair and a normal road bike pair. And that's what I looked up is it's like if you stuff something in there, it dries them out faster. Because I was like not getting my shoes dry between rides, like even with two pairs. So like it'd be like a 48-hour cycle and they'd still be moist. And then you take the inserts out, stuff them with newspaper, and I'm back to that now with this again.
I do find that in the summer, like I genuinely looked into getting, you can get those sort of air dryers that you get for ski boots,
Yeah.
and getting something like that to put my cycling shoes on, to dry them out.
Yeah. I think there's only so many options like when you're biking hard indoors because you just don't get enough wind motion when you're biking that hard,
Wonder if I could
unfortunately.
set up those air dryers and then just run tubes to my shoes while I'm on the bike. Just a constant flow.
Yep. What any yeah, I don't know if there's any. I mean, maybe message Sai, our buddy Sai, see what level Velo's got. Because they're kind of
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah.
they're the indoor equipment specialists, I think. Not to
I
It's
am
definitely
rocking those bibs right now, and they are very slippery when I wiggle out of those after these too. But
I
I can't
don't
imagine how much worse it would be with regular bibs right now.
I
oh,
don't
The
know whether
other
it's going to solve the wet feet situation, but I know a bunch of the sports nutrition brands do kind of like sweat tests and things like that. So you could find out why, if you're a particularly profuse sweater, like how to best rehydrate afterwards. But yeah, I don't think
Miller
that.
Lite.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. They
which
got that.
but before I do
I
want to
got that
ask, like,
figured out.
what do you guys think about the all cat racing at this level as from where you guys sit? Does it
It's
matter? Are you guys just done like within 30 seconds and whatever it all goes away and nobody cares about it?
Yeah, I would, with it being all cat right now, I'd love to see it the other way. That being said, if it were the other way, I'd love to see it all cat. Like, you really have to run these two different ways congruently just to satisfy everybody. But it's fine. I think there's looking at Zwift Racing afterwards. There's I generally am supposed to do better than I actually do, and it's because I
Hmm.
can't stick in with that A group as long as some of these other riders can, and they just get towed along for free 2, 3 minutes. But it's whatever. I'm not getting a contract bonus on finishing position. It's just like I said, it's a fun exercise to see if you can push yourself to like the same degree while the pros are doing it IRL, as it were.
I think I'd
Yeah,
like. Sorry, Sean.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think, I mean, yeah, it definitely changes the results of the races. Yeah, it advantages, especially on the flat stages, the guys who've got more just pure power. But kind of is what it is. Like, just got to go with it. I think what
Yeah.
I mind more about the race format, and I'm really wary of like criticizing people. It's a really cool race format. Go do it. I really like it. But the time slots are just a bit weird. I think it's 9 UTC is the earliest slot, which is 10 a.m. UK. Um, then it's 1 a.m., 1 p.m. UK, and then 6:30. And I kind of thought, I just wish there was a morning slot. I just wonder how many people you get. I know that's 6 a.m. for Brent, but how many people you get if you did a similar like 7 a.m. UK, 8 a.m. CET type time slot. So yeah, that would be the shift I'd make to see if you could get a few more people with a slightly earlier slot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like probably Pacific is even worse. Like for me, it's like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
is kind of like that exact boundary of like it's early, not like if it was at 7 a.m. I might not be able to do it because then it would be too late because then it'd be pushing to like 8 o'clock, 8:30 some days before you get off the bike. So although I did do a couple 6 p.m. ones on the weekend when I had time. So um yeah, I find the with the Bs, the thing it suffers from is a little bit the same thing when I raced with the A's, like in ZRL, is that like it's really, really hard for 5 to 10 minutes and then I'm dropped. And then it's kind of, and I mean, especially the first one, I got beat by some C's, but the rest of the races, like it's a little bit like kind of gets pretty casual in between. Maybe when there's a climb, it's a bit spicy, but like I did the Watopia waistband one. It really did. That's the group I was in was quite chilled out, and then like I finished second in the group sprint amongst the Bs. I wouldn't see guy beat me, I think, but you know, so it didn't like it wasn't hard the whole way through, which is you don't quite build that, you don't quite get that sort of full hour fitness from like going hard for 10 minutes, then drop down, and then you get back to it. I mean, you're from where I was at compared to my normal fitness, yeah, it's obviously I'm improving, but if I had to race like instead of going at threshold for 10 or 15 minutes and then getting dropped because I know I'm not gonna be able to do that. If I was doing like kind of mid tempo with some pushes in between, it would be a little different, I think. Like I know for sure the one that was the hilly route one, like I held the group across the top of a hilly reverse, the front group all, and then we got back to the rollers again, and the A's just started going banana scooters. It's like, oh, I can't do this again. And a couple of Bs made it, and the rest of us were kind of in the second group, and I think I held on the rest of the way around after that with that second group. Maybe I got dropped in the last hilly again, but um, yeah, like it's kind of it makes me appreciate the length of HWRs because at those distances I can make it most times. I mean, sure, when you get a certain hilly route, some very, very fast days, but usually I can kind of stick in with the big group most of the races. So anyway, that's kind of
Yeah,
how it's been
I wonder
feeling
if
for
it
me.
makes the races they're trying to simulate that day's Tour de France stage, aren't they? And I wonder if it makes it the hard bits of the race are no longer hard because you've been dropped and everyone's chilling out. So the Mayan route was super hard at the start because you're pretty much straight onto the first com. And then I think partly I was largely depressed by the time I got onto that second half of the grade because that was the fourth time I'd done it in about 3 days. So thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
And I think I'd done the Snowman series like a couple of days before as well. So yeah, I think, but that was decided by how long people could just hung on that first bit of those first two comms, and then everyone was just really spread out, and there wasn't really any racing after that. So yeah,
Yeah, I would say that probably does like that the all cat racing does defeat the purpose of the series to some degree because what they're trying to do is simulate the day's race. And for lower category, unless you're at the very top, the way that you race it is not the way that, you know, you would race it if you were racing against people at your level. Because, you know, in that case, it would end up being that you race the hardest bits hardest, and you're fighting against the people that you're fighting, rather than I'm hanging on as long as I can, and then I'm surviving the rest of the race. Because that's, I mean, I guess what they're simulating is a lot of people going into the gruppetto. Is there a time cut?
Oh dear. No, it's yeah, it's, I mean, so people, most people understand what we're talking about, but the person slightly stronger than you in your category can hold on to the person in the category above slightly longer than you can, and then like probably at tempo can hold on to them pushing, but you can't. But they wouldn't be able to do that to you in a 1v1 without having someone tow them. So yeah, it's does mix it up a bit, doesn't it? But no, really good fun series. I might try and do Chasing Red when I'm not busy at weekends. So that would be good, and do a few more next week as well. So all good. Chris, you were asking about, you wanted to ask about
well,
music, didn't you?
I actually just really want to hear how you guys are planning on recovering from this once it's winding down. Like Steve, you're well extended past what you what any of the apps think you should be. What's your plan afterward? Especially if you're thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do Chasing Red as well.
I think, well, I think I don't quite believe the apps. We were chatting about it in the group, and Craig was saying if you're starting from a low base, I think the apps can be a bit out anyway. I think it's almost to treat these like a really heavy loaded training camp, and then go back to probably going to be racing hard 2 or 3 times a week at most, and then maybe a bit of riding around that. I think what it is teaching me though is just that you were alluding to earlier, Sean, just the things you do afterwards, just to look after yourself a bit more. So like yesterday, I had a bit of a sore knee, so just iced that a bit in the evening. Like today, I was just trying to be aware to spin at a good cadence when I was riding, and it's a TT. I'm not going to win a TT, so in a way, it's nice. Like kind of, I think Danny Shrewsbury was saying on commentary in the UK today, like the guys will just spin around in like 40 minutes on today's time trial. Like that's them taking it easy. So yeah, like there was an element today of I wasn't full all out, full gas around this. It was like, what can I hold that I think isn't going to kill me? Because actually there's some stages later on that would be better suited for the type of rider I am. But there were people who were certainly like, this is a TT, I do big watts, like I can do this. So I think, and that's part of the fun, right? Isn't it? So yeah, and kind of it's just with me, I have to fuel properly. The one thing I want to try and work out is I'll get to today. I just needed a bit of bread or something like that. I just don't know if I might need to investigate some of these carbohydrate recovery drinks. I normally only ever do the electrolyte tablets and don't do a kind of proper recovery drink and just rely on food. But yeah, that might be something I try if I do the Chasing Red. Is kind of more proper recovery type drinks. Chris, are you doing anything other than going on holiday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get a nice 5 or 6 recovery days right in the middle of this, so I'm less concerned, I think, than if I had to run 21 stages right through with 2 rest days. But I think maybe coming off of like the structured training sessions that I've been doing going into this, I'll probably maybe go back to a couple of those a week, maybe on the lighter side, and still get in like an HSRL and a Climber's Gambit on the weekend and have those be my higher intensity days, and just try to log a lot of time in like is sweet spot zone 2 or is sweet spot above zone 2? Sweet spot's like zones 3. Yeah, getting some head nods. So try to just log some extended time in zone 2 and sweet spot, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Sean's nodding his head yes, so that's a good sign.
If I were you, I'd take a week off after, or like real easy, and then go back to maybe doing a Tuesday structured thing where you're doing like maybe some threshold, sweet spot or threshold, and then only zone 2 outside of that, aside from the hard weekends.
But I'm getting like, I don't know if you missed this, but I'm getting like 5 days off in the middle because I'll be on
Okay, well,
vacation. So
You're still going to be hitting like 10 or 11 days if you hit them all at the end at a 12 or something like that, depending on when you hit it. But
I don't
yeah,
think I've had an off week since started Zwifting.
oh
I
yeah,
think
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I think this is the almost like the curse of Zwift, isn't it? Like it, especially racing on Zwift, like you want to race every week, and that's really hard to get a lot better or to get a lot quicker. Doing that, like the structured training, and you would always peak for events. You'd like structured train, event, rest, do event, rest, then go back into structured training. Whereas we just want to do HSRL every Saturday, and it's kind
Yeah.
of this is where I balance it a bit of like with the chasing yellow, like a long day is an hour and a half, and yeah, it's a bit harder than normal, but it's not 4 or 5 hours on the bike. It's not kind of if I was commuting daily, I'd be doing an hour and a half to 2 hours on the bike, probably at sweet spot because like you just want to get to work or get home quickly, don't you? Like you don't tend to zone to your commute. So it feels like that kind of riding. But yeah, is that going to make me? If I, what's the goal? Is it riding and having fun every week, or is it making myself the fastest rider I can? And that's kind of, I guess, I'm in the ride and have fun every week.
yeah. For me, it
Yeah.
was just because I had been off for so long. I just wanted to try and like do a bit of a jump start, catch up back to get closer to where I was before. Anyway, because I'd gotten not bad in the spring up to maybe like 95% of where I was at when I crossed into the A's. So I wanted to get somewhere back to there. And then, yeah, it'll probably be a couple light days during the week. And then I'm hoping to get more out because part of the reason I want to get back into shape is I want to, now that lacrosse season's over, I want to hit the mountain bike and get up and do, you know, crazy days up on the mountain a few times. So,
uh, what this did remind me of was, and I don't know if Steve was working with GCN at that point, was there was a series, or maybe it was just one video where Jeremy Powers did a week where he did an FTP test every day, and he did. I think his best efforts were the like final day, but there were a couple of days in the middle there where he was just like, I feel terrible. Like the doing this amount of intensity day after day is just so hard on the body. And yet he was still performing, right? So like the it was hard. It was a mental struggle. But at the end of the day, like he's still putting out good numbers most of the days.
yeah, there's a lot of mental aspect to it for sure. For sure.
Especially like your legs, they just hurt. It doesn't mean they can't do the thing, but it does hurt more.
Yeah, and especially like early in the race, like especially I had one morning where I was having some troubles getting connected to my computer, and so it was a little like real short warm up, and like that first charge out of the gate with the A's and stuff was like I could just not do this right now, and that would be fine. So
Definitely,
I was
I definitely noticed that with the TT today. So, like the first bit, I was sort of spinning and was like, "Okay, I'll probably do this all the way around," and then just things eased up a bit, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm feeling a bit better," and then was sort of able to do okay 3 times as a result. But yeah, you definitely sort of shake out that fatigue, and you can understand like why the tour guys on the rest days will still go and do a 4 hour bike ride. Kind of it's um, keeping everything loose and shaking everything out. But, yeah, I think that similar to you, Brent. The goal was kind of a bit of a kickstart. I think I'm going to run into I need to lose weight quicker than I need to get faster on the bike, if that makes sense. Or if I need to lose weight quicker I need to add watts. That's what I'm trying to say with that. If I want to get faster on the bike, and that's more difficult than just sitting on the bike and riding more, because then you start need to think about doing things on a calorie deficit and all those things, which is hard.
Yeah. Well, and then the other part for me anyway is that I'm hoping to like actually feel like 6 a.m. isn't so foreign the thing, so I can get more regular afterwards, right? Because I think that's part of it is once I get through this like kind of ramp up, then to like settle into like a bit of a training regimen where I'll actually get up at 6 a.m. and do a workout or something once in a while. Be ready for the races. All right.
Chris, you wanted to talk music quickly. What's our Hurt Locker music choices?
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, when you're on a TT, this is what I was struggling with today. Like when you're on a TT, does anybody have any like go-to music when it's just you and you're not concentrating on holding a wheel?
I don't really do it for TTs, but when I was doing my training program and going up the Alp a lot a couple of years ago, and particularly for the two Alp efforts I did in the climbing plan, I had a Spotify playlist of some eclectic songs which started slow and got faster. So it had been like semi-designed to be like slightly more chilled out tracks at the start, and then get progressively like more into very angry like techno music. Just anything that's high beats per minute that I'm just going to stomp the pedals in time to. So bit of Prodigy, but I did have I can't remember the band now, but it's called Climb a Mountain was the track that it started off, just because terrible tempo and things like that, but I just like the vibe.
and this is like one that you built yourself, or just like one that you said, give me bike music or something?
I built myself, yeah. So just songs I like that I put on there and progressively got
Yeah.
more
So I'm
dancey, more
I'm
tempo.
I'm not like a super music guy, and so I still have like Apple Music, what I'd never have paid for the subscription or anything. I've just migrated songs forward from like songs I ripped off CDs and songs I bought on like iTunes in 2000, what, like four maybe? Is that when you could buy a song for 99 cents on iTunes still? I don't know. Anyway, and I just like have these songs and I just put like 1 hour worth of music of songs that I think are good for biking, and they include such fun as Can't Hold Us with Macklemore, right? Like the Seal Can't Hold Us, you know that one? That one's a good one. I
I think
also,
that's on my playlist as well.
yeah, I also though have Sin Wagon by the Dixie Chicks, which
Yeah.
I don't know if that one is any good.
I mean,
Seven
surely
Nation
you've got
Army,
Brett
White
there,
Stripes.
Naked Ladies,
No,
Sum
that's no
41,
Sum
um,
41 would be good. I should have some Sum 41 in here.
Rush. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of Canadian bands now, Brett.
Yeah, I also have Thunder in Your Heart by John Farnham, which is a 1980s power ballad, which was the theme song for the 1980s BMX movie Rad. So
Nice.
go look that one up, because that one they're doing like it's part of like a qualifying race montage with guys on BMX bikes, and they're like crashing and going everything. It's like Crew Jones has done it. Crew Jones is qualified. Can you believe it? Anyway, highly recommend.
I
Also,
might
all my life.
definitely my go-to hype track is "If You Want Blood" by AC/DC, which is
I've 100% got that one too.
yeah, everyone so yeah. How
Yep.
about you,
Right.
Chris?
Well, I'm definitely gonna look for the Brent Bleed from Your Face playlist as well as your offering, Steve. So post those links. I end up on like today I just ended up with there's an album called The Monitor from Titus Andronicus. It's a little a little punk band. And I think the beats per minute kind of lines up with a good cycling effort. So I just end up bearing myself to that. That's like my one go-to. Or if I'm just going along steady and I know I have like one effort to go, like I'll flip on the classic Eminem track "Lose Yourself" and try not to throw pasta up all over my kit.
Like Mom Spaghetti.
Like Mom Spaghetti, there you go. Those are my two. But I just wanted to see what
his,
everyone else is doing.
his feet are sweaty, I think is the
True words
That's
have not been
funny, just
spoken.
like balls for kitty. That is my worst Eminem impression. Do you want to hear the good one?
Oh dear. Well, I think that's a note to finish on, isn't it? So,
I think so. All right. With that, we will say thank you to Steve Pritchard. Thank you to Chris Greenland. Thank you to Sean Fogenberg. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to everyone doing herd races. Enjoy your races this weekend, whether herd or otherwise. See you out there. If you're on the Chasing Yellow group, moo and good night.
cheers.
And I'm